Welcome to this session. Maybe just a quick question. Do you know what's the theme of this forum? The food security forum, what is the theme? The theme. Right, it's embedded here, investing for the future of climate food later. And we have heard a lot about, of course, food security, climate change. And we also heard from the lectures yesterday at the session 2, also after lunch. We do this when we are food secure. But this session is proudly actually brought to you by the newly established natural capital and climate team within the agriculture, food, nature, and rural development sector office. And the session is really meant to sort of look deeper into how we can do, as ADB, investment into sort of nature positive approaches. And for that, we will hear from our speakers, from His Excellency, the Minister of Stephen Victor from Palau, and from the Director of the Natural Capital and Climate team. With this, may I first invite Qingfeng Zhang, our Senior Sector Director for sg-afnr, to give the opening remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Again, I welcome all of the participants. I attended this very important session. I want to also thank to Mr. Steve Victor, Ministry of Agriculture, Fishery and the Environment from Palau. I attended this important session. Again, I caused the plenary discussions started yesterday. One of us remember your inspiring word and also the how to adopt the integrated approach. Let me quickly share the one observation to highlight the importance of this session. I always share with my colleague from Stanford University and also CG and many others. Come back to the 1990s, we have the two important global conventions. One is for climate change, another is biodiversity conservation. But they are 30 years after, we can see this great progress on all the awareness raising and also financial resources mobilization for climate change already. But we can see very marginal progress taking place in international convention in the biodiversity conservation. Even the 2010, we have the COP10 biodiversity in Japan. One of the targets say there, when we come back to the 2020 review in Kunming and then of course in the Montreal, no one target were achieved. So again, today of course I try just mention about the theme of the session, climate food natural access. Again, in terms of the access between the climate change and food security, is well understood and also is well sorted out, and we have already adopted many of the solutions already. But in terms of the natural capital investment, scale up the natural solution financing, this is still far away to scale up. One of the major reasons, of course, associated with the measurement, associated with the counting. That's the reason since 2005, IDB at Stanford University, we work together on this natural capital project, and we are, of course, when IDB 2011, we requested support the National Development Reform Commission started this growth ecosystem product. It's a sort of the natural capital accounting to measure the progress of ecological services. So again, I want to say with this new operating model, of course, we have the one dedicated team, natural capital climate, established with the leadership by the Tom Panilla. We see this is a very good progress already achieved. We are accumulate a good pipeline. We also deliver a number of the good projects, particularly in PRC, Mongolia. Of course, later we also build up the pipeline across the region, across the countries in Pacific, in India, and many other countries. So, of course, Larry and Susan Lobson, they also work on the natural capital lab and also natural capital fund as a sort of the instrument to help catalyze the investment in this area. So again, today, of course, I need to also recognize good initiative by the Scott. You guys in the Southeast Asia have the Brew Hub, and also Southeast Asia, you have this Cadillac Green Fund. Of course, from the environmental team, Duncan, you guys, good progress for the fairway already. So take this opportunity, of course, we want to collect these thoughts, focus on a number of the key objectives for this session. One is, of course, deepening the understanding of the needs and also priorities of our DMC. Again, Mr. Victor, your insights very important for us. Two is, of course, respond to these needs. Our colleague in this room, they're going to also showcase IDB efforts in this space, natural capital investment, and including nature-based solution as well. Three is also discuss about the ways to scale up and also catalyze the innovative financing, particularly engage the private sector. So again, Scott and other colleagues had a lot of to share. Finally, of course, is also explore the partnership and also cooperation. Of course, in this room, we also have the Luhana from the IFA to attend us. We can explore this joint partnership in the future. So again, probably let me just pause here. I wish you a very successful session, and I look forward to their fruitful discussions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Qin Feng, for the brief, but also a very sort of important remarks, setting out sort of, giving us background, but also setting out the sort of expectations for this session. And next, I would like to invite His Excellency, Minister Stephen Victor. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. The name of this session is about investment, but if you were talking about Bitcoin, other stock market assets, this room will be full. But unfortunately, we're talking about investing in capital assets, and so we need to raise the level of awareness with investors of the importance of why the investment is needed. My background is in environment, so I'm quite familiar with this concept because we've tried to sell this concept for such a long time with very little uptake from investors. And I think there's always this disconnect about how nature protects us, or what will our investment return will be. And so there is the need to think about investing in nature as a responsibility, not just as a way to make profit, but as a responsibility that is critical because we're not doing it just for today. We're doing it for the future. In ensuring that we give the next generation a livable planet requires that we invest in capital assets. Why should we care? Nature is the single most important input into our economy. Nature is what keeps us alive. But when we don't take care and invest in nature, nature causes much destruction to us. And we're realizing that now and in the last few years. Take climate change as an example. 20, 30 years ago, many people didn't believe that human beings contributed to climate change. Therefore, what we talked about then as the need for us to do, we didn't do. Only about 10 years ago did we realize that we needed to keep global temperatures within 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2030. Otherwise, the planet will not be livable by the end of this century. We're nowhere near of being able to keep 1.5 degrees within reach. We are reaping the negative impact of our lack of understanding of investing in nature. So how long would we need to convince ourselves that investing in nature is like investing in our own life insurance? You invest in life insurance not hoping to get a return tomorrow, next year, but that return will come in the future in the form of taking care of your children and those loved ones you leave behind. That is what investing in nature is about. We're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for the future generations. So how do we build awareness within the investors community that we need to do this now? We need to have done this 10, 20, 30 years ago. But it's never too late to make that investment. But how? I think this is where multilateral development bank can explore options, create that opportunity, lower the risk for investors. So how does a multilateral development bank support investment in this area? Oftentimes, we, as countries, we receive loans from banks, either to develop specific sector, and sometimes we're not able to pay the loan. And only then we sort of discuss this concept of debt for nature swap. I lower your interest rate, but then you repay some of it into nature. Why not structure it from the beginning that way? And so we're addressing the problem while growing certain sectors. We've taken an approach of destroy it and then protect it later. And we've seen that we can never restore nature once we destroy it. We don't have enough resources to restore nature once it is destroyed. It's much more cost-effective to manage how we use nature. nature will recover itself if we give it enough time to recover. But the way we're using nature is at such that we're not letting it recover. There is so much pressure and stress on nature that it is not able to recover on its own. We saw from yesterday, one of the presentation, that it took about 200,000 years for human population to reach 1 billion, and only about 200 years for it to reach 10 billion. So that's how much pressure we have exerted on our natural environment for it to contribute the type of input that we need to grow our economy. We're paying for some of it, of the negative impact, but the future generation will pay for most of the impact that are being created. So, what do? Do we leave a future generation a world that is not livable? Or do we give future generations a chance by investing in nature? I think there are a lot of expertise within this room of how we can begin to create that investment, how we de-risk the potential loss from any sectors, how we create indicators for how we move towards success, because we have to accept and recognize that measures of success are not going to be reaped in years, it will be reaped in generations and in decades. So we need to realize that, and we need to expect that the investment we make in nature will not necessarily be something that you see the values rise tomorrow, but you will see it protect you tomorrow. When the next storm comes, you hope that we had protected those mangroves, and therefore those strong waves will not wash away the coastlines. We hope that we would have protect the forest, and so that it can continue to absorb the carbon dioxide that we are so trying hard to reduce our contribution to global emissions. These are things we know we need to do, and many indigenous communities have been doing this for generations that have kept them in balance with nature. And so, how do we, in our continued aspirations to progress, humanity does not put humanity in peril for the future? And the answer is investing in capital assets. Thank you.
I think nature is the single most input to our economy, and investing in nature, it's investing in our own life insurance, and nature is beyond the profits and the returns. It's also our responsibilities for ourselves and for our future generations, and the investment skills is really to look at sort of not years, but decades and generations. Thank you so much, Minister Victor. And let's give another round of appreciation. Thanks for the inspirational speech. And then next, let me invite my director, Tom Panana, to give the second keynote on ADB's approach to the lectures, nature investment.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Can somebody cue the presentation, please? Is there Hello. Anyway, so yeah, I'm Tom Pinella. I'm the director for the Natural Capital and Climate team. And as noted, we had just had a reorganization last July, and my group came out of this reorganization. And so I'm very happy and fortunate that that's happened. And I'll just go through a presentation looking at what we've done and kind of where we're going and how we hope to get there. And we'll try to do this quickly. So, okay, I've got the presentation. I've got the clicker. Anyway, so this ADB's natural capital approach. So what is natural capital? And I see the audience here. I don't think I need to explain it. It's really all the renewable and non-renewable resources that we depend on for society, our economy, and the ecosystem services that they provide. And I think that's clear. Why do we need natural capital investment? And I'd like to thank His Excellency for a very passionate speech in his own way about why we need to do this. And I don't think this takes much explaining, because I think everybody here understands why we need to do it. I could have given you many gloom and doom statistics about destruction of mangroves, forests, wetlands, but the thing is, I think we all know why we need to do this. Hi, with the presentation, can you just put it back, please? I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, great, thank you. And so let me just come, one is food security, and that's why we're here this week in the Food, Nature, Climate Nexus is all what we're talking about, as Chai mentioned at the beginning of this, and there are many reasons why we need to do this. The question is, how are we going to go about doing this, and I'll talk about that right now. So I think I'm gonna, okay, there we go. So first let me just talk a little bit about the context here on the need for why we're doing this. One, ADB's own ambition, we have a $100 billion ambition for climate finance by 2030, and part of this is going to be met through investments in nature, particularly for adaptation, where we're hoping to have at least a third of this financing go in our own strategies. But globally, I think I'm very happy to see that nature has really come back onto the agenda, and things like the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Protocol Framework, the UN Decade for the Oceans, and for us, the Multilateral Development Bank, MDB statement on nature, as well as our commitment to tracking nature-positive finance. There are a host of regional and global initiatives now, but we're just in a very good space with, I think, nature coming back on with equal footing in a way with climate change where it needs to be. So the question is, how do we go about doing that? So for the natural capital approach strategy here, my team within the agriculture, food, and nature rural development sector is taking the investments to scale these up. And my team alone is not doing this. We're doing this across ADB. But let me just talk a bit specifically about natural capital and how we want to do this. So we have 4 strategic interventions that we're working on right now, and have looking to have TA resources to support us. And this is also just derivative of what we've been doing, but trying to do it in a more selective and strategic way. So the first is mapping natural capital investment opportunities and developing strategic investment roadmaps. So this would be looking across our 5 regions at a group of countries from 6 to 8, and looking at where are the opportunities in terms of public and private sector investment for natural capital. Providing support to these countries and ADB to help do some sector analytics and assessment support for how can we flesh these opportunities out a bit more, and then working with the countries to come up with strategic investment roadmaps that would be complementary and reinforce other planning activities like NDCs, NAPs, and other relevant plans. Second, even though we have identified the potential opportunities for investment, we also need to work with these countries on the enabling environment and the policy framework to facilitate investment for natural capital. And this can be reforms in policies around sector issues such as forest, oceans, coastal, that may facilitate more public sector investment coming in. But we can also do some analytical work both at the sector level on how might we have opportunities that could be available to bring in private sector investment. And I think this is what the minister was referring to, is how can we make this attractive? And there is experience that we have on how we can structure some investments for private sector, but quite often you need to get the enabling conditions right, and that's either at the sector level or perhaps working with local capital markets, et cetera, on the finance side. Thirdly, we need to better articulate and define the services that we're offering and the products we're offering as ADB to our clients. So we have a range of investments around coastal resources, marine resources, lakes and wetlands and terrestrial resources. And so we're looking at these and coming up kind of with a prospectus of interventions on what we've done and coming up with evidence-based business lines that then we can share and discuss with our clients to actually make that case. Why is it important for you to invest? These are the direct benefits. These are the important co-benefits. But I think a big part of this is we also need to work on how do we demonstrate that it not only makes economic sense, but it makes financial sense. And to me, that's the real challenge. And so that's either through structuring deals perhaps differently, maybe bringing some of the assets or the ecosystem services into the market that aren't currently monetized or in the market, so that they are something that's that are investable, and really making the business case. I think it is compelling. We have to do this for future generations, but unfortunately, if you're dealing sometimes not even with private but public investors, they need to see that revenue stream. They want to see that return, and that's where we have to put quite a bit of our effort, I think. And then developing the financing instruments. Lastly, and which is why everybody is sitting here in this room, is we cannot do this by ourselves, and we fully realize that we need partnerships, knowledge, and capacity of our clients in particular to work with us on increasing the investments for natural capital. And so this can come through strengthening natural capital information systems and networks, as well as providing information to our clients. This can be through valuation studies, a range of things. Also, technology plays a role here, as it does with all of our programs, and we invest quite a bit in remote sensing, working with ESA Space Agency, JAXA, all of these things that can help identify and solidify these investments, and can also act as a de-risking mechanism to provide greater certainty around the investments and to promote sharing of knowledge through events like this. So if we do this right, we end up with a program like we have in the PRC in the Yellow River Basin, which is one of our flagship programs, the Yellow River Ecological Corridor Program, which takes a longer-term programmatic and landscape approach to investment in natural capital. We have 4 thematic priorities we've discussed with the government on natural capital of water, sustainable efficient agriculture and value chains, climate change, and integrated urban rural green development and circular economy. It's a long-term program underpinned by a large technical assistance with 15 sub-projects generating knowledge and pilots and studies from things to water management, to biodiversity planning at the provincial level, to creating a basin scale climate change adaptation plan, protected areas, mulberry farming, a whole host of things. And this knowledge base then feeds into the investment portfolio, of which currently we have about 6 projects approved for 1.1 billion, and you double that with government financing, and we're hoping to look by the end at a $4 to $5 billion investment program around natural capital based on these 4 thematic priorities. It also is possible because we're working with an extremely sophisticated client too, and it won't work in every country. As noted, we're committed to this across ADB. We have the Natural Capital Lab, the Natural Capital Fund in the lab, the Stanford work that was ongoing, but we also have a range of other funds, the Nature Solutions Financing Hub being put in place right now with concessional finance to leverage and de-risk private finance, the Canada Climate and Nature Fund, which is for our private sector group, that's $200 million, again, to leverage private sector investment. Asian Catalytic Green Financing Facility we'll hear a bit more about today. We have a Healthy Oceans program and a trust fund, and a Regional Flyway Initiative. I'll present a project on that very shortly, and we'll hear more about that today from a panelist. And as I said, we're working on valuation tools. So we have a whole suite of activities going on, and the idea is these can work together and increase the amount, quality, and depth of our investment in natural capital. This is the pipeline, and people can get the presentation, but we have, over the next 3 years, this is just in my team, in agriculture, food, nature, and rural development. But we have a range of activities: coastal, forest, marine, ecosystem restoration, and this is growing. And I see this huge potential to really grow this portfolio as we articulate the benefits in the product lines with our clients. Of course, this requires upstream work, and I think that's something that is also ongoing, and our team's working on with technical assistance. But India and other countries are extremely interested in this and realize the value. It's about 3.5 billion over the next 3 years, and I could easily see where this rate of increase could double, just given the right resources and positioning. So a couple quick examples. One, the South Daunting Lake Wetland Project, which is under preparation right now by Sylvia, who, thanks to her efforts. And this is a ADB investment with the government and also AFD. It's a wetland project. It's part of the Regional Flyway Initiative, really the first dedicated project under this, and will result in better capacity to manage the lake, wetlands, and associated area, create a nature reserve for water birds, but also measures to enhance climate resilient livelihoods. So this will go into agriculture in the area, ecotourism, and other community and municipal activities, because we have to remember that while we are investing in nature for future generations, there are people dependent on these assets, and we need to make sure that their livelihoods are not compromised or are ideally enhanced by these investments in nature. And I think that's fully possible, and we have plenty of evidence to show that is possible. I won't talk about the Flyway Initiative, but a $3 billion ambition across Asia that we're well on our way to making progress. We also do policy-based lending, and this is in Indonesia, will be approved this coming May. This is a $500 million investment and 1.1 billion in the first program with our partners KfW and AFD, and we'll probably do another tranche in 25 or 26 for a similar amount. Last quick examples, appreciate your patience. These are private sector examples. We have a New Forest Private Equity Fund where ADB has put concessional money into this for private firms to expand plantation area of investments for plantation forests, but at the same time helping to conserve existing forest, improve certification, and of course you get lots of carbon sequestration through these types of projects with also co-benefits on improving gender activities in private sector, and a ocean-based aquaculture project where we've put money into a private firm and promoting ocean-based farming that has climate resilience. It supports barramundi, which is high-quality proteins, so this is nature, climate, protein, and food. This ticks all the boxes of why we're sitting here today and is the type of investment that can and is being done by the private sector. So I'll leave it at that and appreciate your time and